When Stephen A. Smith says your name on national TV, you'd better hope it comes with praise. For Dillon Gabriel, it didn't. What he got instead was a full-on demolition, an unfiltered takedown that didn't just sting, it scorched. A segment so sharp and so relentless it didn't feel like analysis, it felt like a public execution. The timing couldn't have been worse. The Browns were already knee-deep in quarterback turmoil, with Shedeur Sanders quietly winning over teammates, coaches, and fans alike.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
But whispers began to creep out, rumors that Sanders wasn't ready, that the gap between him and Gabriel was tighter than anyone thought. Suddenly, anonymous reports, shady posts, and leaked stats started flooding social media. It didn't take long to trace the fingerprints back to one place, Gabriel's camp. That's when Stephen A. pounced. On First Take, with his trademark glare and that split-second pause before eruption, he delivered a blistering monologue. He accused Gabriel of playing games off the field because he couldn't win on it, of manipulating the media, sabotaging a teammate, and hiding behind burner accounts and whispers instead of proving himself under center. And then came the line that stuck like a brand. Dillon Gabriel has no business near a starting job, because leadership isn't something you fake online. The studio froze. The internet erupted. Players shared it, reporters co-signed it, and coaches dropped cryptic nods of agreement. In one morning, Gabriel wasn't just criticized, he was erased. Not a quarterback. Not a competitor. A cautionary tale. Within 48 hours, the Browns announced Gabriel had been traded to the Carolina Panthers. No press conference. No farewell montage. Just a quiet tweet and a wave goodbye. The writing was on the wall. His trade value tanked. No one bought the fresh start PR. Everyone knew what this was. A purge. The Browns had chosen a direction. And more importantly, they'd chosen a culture. One built around Shedeur Sanders, whose response to the entire fiasco: silence. No comments. No digs. No leaks. Just a crisp statement thanking his teammates and a photo of him in full Browns gear captioned "Back to work." That's it. And in that moment, the contrast couldn't have been clearer. One quarterback played chess. The other played clout. Guess who's still playing? But here's where things got really interesting, because this wasn't just a Browns issue anymore. This became a league-wide reckoning. Front offices started tightening their media policies. Agents got called into meetings. PR teams began scanning social accounts with forensic precision. Rookie symposiums added whole sections about narrative control and media accountability. Because what Gabriel attempted, that kind of calculated character assassination, it's not just unethical, it's corrosive. It chips away at locker room trust, poisons team culture, and destabilizes development. The league watched what happened in Cleveland and said, not again. Even NFL veterans, guys who'd seen it all, were speaking out. One former Pro Bowl linebacker posted, "Used to be, if you wanted the job, you had to earn it. Now these dudes think they can tweet their way into QB1. Nah." Another veteran quarterback chimed in, "Leadership is what you do when nobody's watching." Sanders stayed quiet. That's all I needed to see. And maybe that's what makes this whole saga so revealing. Because for all the glitz, the storylines, the social followings, the reality is this. Football still values authenticity. You can't fake being a locker room leader. You can't filter your way into franchise QB status. You either command the respect or you don't. And Shedeur? He did. He earned it in film rooms, in reps, in huddles. Not with viral quotes or flashy narratives, but with consistency, with calm under pressure, with integrity. And now that integrity is his brand. His jersey is selling. His interviews are polished. His teammates are backing him up in every presser. And the city of Cleveland? They're rallying around him. Because in a city that's seen every version of quarterback collapse, finally, they're seeing a player who's built for the storm. And Dillon Gabriel? He's spiraling in Carolina. Third string. Practice squad rotations. No press. No buzz. No campaign. just silence, and not the good kind. Because the truth is, once you get labeled as toxic in this league, it's hard to shake. You don't just lose the media. You lose the trust. The whispers start. He's a distraction. He thinks he's bigger than the team. He'll throw anyone under the bus. And whether that's true or not, doesn't matter. Perception is power. And Gabriel handed his over the second he tried to manipulate it. So here's the takeaway. This wasn't just a one-time blow-up. It was a lesson. A red flag for any young athlete trying to hack their way into greatness. Want to be a franchise player? Start by being a franchise man. Don't weaponize the media. Don't undermine your teammates. Don't chase headlines. Chase habits. Because as Stephen A. Smith just reminded the entire sports world, talent may get you in the door, but character keeps you in the building. And Shedeur Sanders? He didn't just walk through the door. He's got the keys now. So let's talk. Do you think Stephen A. went too far? Was Gabriel set up to fail? Or was this just the natural consequence of trying to cheat the grind? Drop your thoughts in the comments, argue your case, and if you've got takes hotter than that monologue, let's hear them. And if you want more stories like this, unfiltered drama, behind-the-scenes meltdowns, and the moments that define careers, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because in today's NFL, the game doesn't just happen on the field. Sometimes, the biggest hits come with a mic in your face and the truth in someone's voice. Dillon Gabriel didn't just lose a PR battle. He lost the league's trust. And in the NFL, that's everything. Forget stats. Forget combined numbers. Forget upside, footwork, or arm talent. Once coaches believe you're not trustworthy, once you've been branded as a manipulator, a locker room virus, a quarterback who puts himself before the team, you don't get second chances. You get phone calls that don't come. You get workouts that mysteriously fall through. You get polite smiles from execs who are already crossing your name off the whiteboard. It doesn't matter how many apologies your agent writes, or how many motivational Instagram stories you post from your hotel gym. Once your name is attached to a failed narrative coup, the NFL moves on without blinking. That's the truth Gabriel's now living in real time. But let's not pretend this was just bad luck, or some poor kid trying to navigate the league's cutthroat politics. No, this was calculated. His camp made a choice. They could have played the long game, waited behind Shedeur, grown into the role, earned the reps the hard way. Instead, they chose the shortcut, the viral route, the leak it and spin it strategy, the narrative hijack. And they almost got away with it. If Shedeur had flinched, if he'd taken the bait, gotten emotional, snapped back on social media, this might have worked. The media would have painted it as a QB controversy. Gabriel would have looked like the calm, focused option. Sanders would have been branded immature or not ready. But Shedeur? He didn't blink. Not once. And that's what turned the whole thing on its head. Because when a young quarterback stays that composed while someone else is actively trying to unravel him through the media, that's not just maturity. That's power. That's when everyone in the building, the coaches, the veterans, the staff, starts whispering, yeah, that's our guy. And for Gabriel, that was the end. Because now, even if he is talented, who's going to take that risk? You think another front office wants to bring in a player who'll stir up chaos the second he's QB2? You think a team struggling with locker room morale is going to hand a headset to someone who tried to dismantle a rookie's momentum through burner accounts and media back channels? Absolutely not. This league runs on one currency, trust. You lose it, you're done. And if you don't believe that, just ask the people not returning Gabriel's calls. Now let's swing back to Shedeur, because what he did during all this, it's low-key legendary. Remember, this was his moment to go full hero mode. He could have stood at that podium, thrown shots, claimed the moral high ground, taken a little media victory lap. But he didn't. What did he do? He sat there and said, I'm just focused on the game. I'm focused on my team. That's all I'm here to do. That's it. And that's why his teammates follow him. Because when the storm hit, he stayed planted. No shade. No spin. No drama. Just business. That kind of discipline doesn't come from training camp drills. That comes from being raised for this. And let's not act like he hasn't had pressure before. Shedeur Sanders has been under a microscope since high school. Since the day Coach Prime put a ball in his hands and said, "Go be great." The world's been watching him every step of the way, looking for a crack, a slip, a weak moment. But instead of crumbling, he's been growing into the chaos. And this Gabriel mess? That wasn't a distraction for Shedeur. It was confirmation. It proved he's more than hype, more than pedigree, more than a viral last name. It proved he's built for the politics and the pressure. It proved he's QB1, even when the job title didn't say it yet. And now, it's not even a question. But let's zoom out for a second. Because this wasn't just a QB battle gone wrong. This was a case study, a how not to guide for the modern athlete in the era of clout, clickbait, and content. Dillon Gabriel made the mistake a lot of young players make these days. He believed the brand mattered more than the ball. He believed if he could just get enough momentum behind a narrative, the team would follow. But football? Football doesn't follow narratives. It follows leadership, execution, respect. And you can't buy that. You can't post your way to it. You have to earn it, build it, protect it. That's what Shedeur understands. And it's why he's still here and Dillon Gabriel isn't. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. Gabriel's NFL career? It might already be over. Not because he's untalented, but because the stink of manipulation is one of the hardest smells to wash off in this league. Even if he gets another shot, which, let's be real, is unlikely, it won't be as a starter. It won't be with trust. It'll be a pity contract, a depth chart afterthought. The guy who holds a clipboard and knows he's one bad tweet away from being unemployed. That's the cost of trying to leapfrog leadership. And the lesson? Simple. Let your game do the talking. Because every moment you spend whispering in the media shadows is a moment your competition is grinding in the weight room. Every headline you force is a snap you didn't earn. Every fake quote you leak is one more nail in your credibility coffin. Shedeur played it smart, and clean, and calm. Gabriel played it loud, and messy, and wrong. And the scoreboard speaks for itself. So let's wrap this thing with the real question. What does this all mean? For the Browns? For the NFL? For every young player watching from college dorms and training camps across the country? It means this. In 2025, it's not enough to just be good. You have to be genuine. Because the world is watching. The fans are watching. The media's watching. And more than ever, your teammates are watching. If they don't trust you, if they think you're fake, if they hear your name and think, that guy's just trying to trend, you're already done. But if you stay grounded, if you keep your circle tight, your mouth shut, and your work loud, you're golden. One rookie tried to game the system. The other dismantled the system without saying a word. And the person who lit the whole thing on fire? Stephen A. Smith, the unofficial commissioner of truth in sports media. Let's not underplay this. Stephen A. didn't just call Gabriel out. He ruined him surgically, with receipts and fire in his voice. He framed Gabriel's media stunt as not only immature, but dangerous, for team culture, for locker room trust, and for the entire ecosystem of how players handle competition in the NFL. And here's what no one expected. People listened. People who don't even like Stephen A. had to admit, he nailed it. And the reason it landed so hard? It wasn't just about Gabriel. It was about what he represented. The clout-era quarterback. That archetype. The guy who looks polished on social, says the right things in interviews, has an image team before he's even played a full season, but hasn't proved a thing on the field. Gabriel was the embodiment of that. And in one televised rant, Stephen A. said what coaches have been thinking for years. You want to lead a team? You want to be a starter in this league? Then shut up and play football. Period. Because when Gabriel tried to push Shedeur out of the spotlight, it wasn't just petty, it was delusional. He wasn't just challenging a rookie. He was challenging a culture shift he wasn't ready to understand. Let's talk about that. Because Shedeur Sanders? He's not your typical rookie. He's walking into the league at a time when quarterbacks are expected to be not just athletes, but CEOs. They're asked to run the offense, win games, lead locker rooms, manage media narratives, and carry the emotional weight of entire franchises, and do it with a smile for the cameras. And Shedeur's doing that in his rookie season, under a microscope, while being the son of one of the most iconic personalities in football history. Do you know how easy it would have been for him to lash out when Gabriel started throwing shade? To fire back? To clear the air with a cryptic Instagram live? He didn't. Because Shedeur understood something Gabriel didn't. Real power doesn't need to speak. Real leaders? They let the chaos circle around them and stay still. That's what makes this whole thing so ironic. Gabriel tried to use the media to make himself look like a leader, and in doing so, he revealed he never was one. Because leadership isn't just about being in charge. It's about knowing when to say nothing, when to put the team first, when to let the work speak. And Shedeur? He spoke volumes without saying a word. Now let's talk about what happened after Gabriel's trade to Carolina. Because the NFL is petty. You know this. You think this league forgets? That teams don't have screenshots? That group chats between coaches and GMs don't light up when a player gets dragged on national television? Come on. Gabriel landed in Carolina, but not as a savior, as an emergency arm, a body for scout team. And worse, he got iced out immediately. No media availability, no marketing push, no whispers about QB battles. Just cold silence and a locker with his name on it in Sharpie. That's the league's way of saying, we see you. Don't try that here. And it's brutal. Because it doesn't matter if Gabriel learned from his mistakes. In this league, your rep walks into the room before you do. And his? It's radioactive. Meanwhile, Shedeur's rookie season kept building. You know the type. Not flashy, not perfect, but solid. Like a brick-by-brick foundation of a long career. He'd make a mistake one week and fix it the next. He'd throw a pick, then throw a dime. He didn't rattle. He didn't regress. He just kept growing. And in the background, Stephen A. kept championing him. Week after week, he'd go on air and say, I told y'all, this kid's for real. He'd show highlights, break down plays, pull stats, not just hyping Shedeur, but defending the choice the Browns made to stick with him. And you could feel it. Shedeur wasn't just succeeding. He was becoming a symbol of what leadership looks like now, of how you handle adversity with grace, of how not playing the game can sometimes be the smartest play of all. And this whole thing? It became the template. Young QBs in college started watching the Shedeur Gabriel fallout like a training manual. Coaches used it as a case study. Do it like Shedeur. Don't even think about doing it like Gabriel. Even agents started shifting. Okay, they said, maybe we don't spin. Maybe we focus on reps, tape, and long-term trust. It became a reset moment. And that's wild when you think about it. One quarterback trying to leak his way into a starting role, and failing so spectacularly, ended up changing how other players are groomed for leadership. That's the real legacy here. Not just the downfall, but the correction. Because this league doesn't just chew up talent. It chews up entitlement. And Gabriel had just enough talent to make people believe, but not enough character to make them trust. And in today's NFL, that's the difference between wearing the headset and holding the clipboard forever. So where does this leave us now? With a few hard truths. 1. Clout doesn't win championships. You can be marketable. You can have endorsements. You can be a social media darling. But if your teammates don't trust you, you're toast. 2. The media can elevate you or expose you. Stephen A. Smith didn't ruin Dillon Gabriel. Gabriel's actions did. Stephen A. just said what everyone else was afraid to. 3. Leadership is tested when the spotlight isn't on. And Shedeur passed that test better than some veterans in the league. And most importantly, 4. The NFL doesn't forget. Not the good, not the bad, and definitely not the fake. Now it's your turn. You've heard the saga. You've seen how one media stunt spiraled into a career nosedive, and how one rookie's silence became the loudest statement of all. So where do you stand? Was Gabriel just a product of bad advice, or a player who exposed himself under pressure? Did Stephen A. go too far, or did he save the Browns from disaster? And is Shedeur Sanders the future of quarterback leadership, or just the calm before the next storm? You can feel it in the way teams move now. The paranoia, the increased media discipline, the careful phrasing of every press conference. No one's saying it out loud, but the message is there. We're not letting another narrative hijack our team. Dillon Gabriel didn't just lose a quarterback competition. He left a footprint, a cautionary tale etched into the fabric of a league that, frankly, needed the reminder. Because in a sport that thrives on loyalty, structure, and hierarchy, the moment you try to fast-track your own spotlight by dimming someone else's, you're finished. And no, it's not fair. Gabriel's not the only one who's tried it. He's just the one who got caught, loudly, nationally, by a man with a 1,000,000-watt megaphone and receipts. And Stephen A. Smith? He's not just a commentator in this story. He's the arbiter. He didn't take the shot because it was personal. He took it because it was necessary. Because someone had to put a stop to the slippery slope of media manipulation as strategy before it became the new normal. And what about Shedeur? He didn't just survive the storm. He walked out cleaner than he went in. That's rare. That's special. Because in this league, there are players who put on the uniform. And then there are quarterbacks who carry everything that comes with it. And Shedeur? He's already carrying more than most. Legacy, expectations, pressure, scrutiny. And now, a team that believes. He's QB1 now. Officially. Unquestionably. Not because someone handed him the keys, but because he refused to play games for them. So let's call it what it is. This wasn't just a controversy. This was a shift in the NFL's moral compass. Gabriel played the media. The media played back. Stephen A. dropped the hammer. And Shedeur just kept his hands clean. That's the real win. And if you're here for more of this, the drama, the downfall, the moments where sports stop being just about the scoreboard, then you know what to do. Comment. Subscribe. Stay locked in. Because the NFL isn't just football anymore. It's reputation warfare. And we're only in the first quarter.